All right, you guys, welcome back to the Dungeon Masterclass. We're in video number 7, Monster Ecology. I am DM Angelo, and this is the DM and Friends. And you know, if you look at modern D&D, right, monsters are basically balanced video game encounters, right? They stand in a grid room, trade blows with the party, fight flawlessly, you know, until their full hit points reach 0, right? You know, it's predictable, it's safe, and frankly, it treats monsters like a bag of hit points, right? So Gary Gygax didn't design monsters in the OSR, to be fair, right? So in first edition D&D, monsters are cunning, ecology-driven survivalists, right? And they use dirty tactics, they leverage the environment, you know, and they know exactly when to run away. So today we're going to be diving deep into, and I'm going to use the first edition monster manual, you know, to show you how to run monsters like they were actually written. And I'm going to utilize some of the 1E mechanics and show you guys how to make them terrifying again. All right, so first thing I want to talk about is the XP system, right? So the mechanical reality of 1E combat, you know, in first edition D&D, Advanced Dungeons and Dragons, you know, players earn experience point from 2 distinct ways, right? Treasure that they recover and the monsters that they defeat, right? So, but in the Gygaxian trap, right? You know, this is the Gygaxian trap, right? Monster XP is calculated by their hit dice, you know, the special abilities they have, you know, like poison, infravision, you know, things like that, right? Or magic resistance. So if a level 1 party spends an hour fighting, you know, a pack of basic 1/1 hit die goblins, right? They'll be risking permanent character death for a measly handful of experience points, right? You know, per creature, right? So as a 1E DM, that's you. You need to make the players realize that combat is extreme and is an extreme hazard, right? So you know, the risk of losing hit points, you know, to a lucky D20 roll, right? A monster crits you or something like that, rarely outweighs, you know, the raw XP reward. So this isn't about them, you know, avoiding combat entirely. It's about teaching, you know, your friends at the table that to only pick fights that where the tactical advantage or the guarded hoard, right? Because the treasures of it makes it worth their risk, right? So that's something to try to instill into your players. You know, make it be worth their while. So, ecology, the 3 questions that I have for ecology, right? And you know, to map this out during your prep, right? Don't write paragraphs, right? When you key a monster, right? So going back to our 1-page dungeon here, I'll bring this bad boy up. When you key it on the side over here, you know, the one we built in video 4, right? You know, look at the monster manual text and answer 3 questions of ecology, right? On your, you know, on the back of the page or on the side. It should be very small. So number 1, you would ask them is what do you want? What do they want right now, right? So what do they want right now? So right, so are they hungry? So are these goblins hungry? Are they terrified of the bigger monster down the hall on the other side of the dungeon? You know, are they just a patrol, right? Looking to get back to their card game, right? You know, it's their shift. They have to do the patrol now. You know, a goblin that just wants to, you know, steal the party's iron rations, you know, behaves completely different than the goblin that, you know, is defending the chief, right? So that's number 1. You want to keep that idea for this monster in there is what do they want right now, okay? Number two, I would say, how do they use the environment, right? So for instance, let's say we have a room of goblins, right? So, goblins have infravision, right? A lot of monsters, a lot of old school monsters have infravisions, and most players don't, unless you're an elf or dwarf or something like that. Well, so your players, and most of the time they don't, like I said. So, a smart pack of goblins, right, or won't charge to the, into the line of, a bunch of fighters that have, the plate mail armor, right? Why would they do that, right? They'll stay on the side of the room and they'll shoot with short bows from the darkness, right? And target, maybe the torchbearer, or target somebody with a lantern. So they drop it and it goes out or explodes or something like that. Causing the party to be in pitch blackness. I mean, that's a huge tactic. They'll use that as the environment. So, and that would give them surprise. That would give them the upper hand. So think of that for your monsters too. Like, how are they going to use the environment? Being behind cover or something like that. So think of that. So use that as a second bullet point. Another thing is, what is their relationship to the rest of the dungeon? They're not just meat shields that are in a room and waiting for you to come, right? So, monsters don't just live in a vacuum, right? They shouldn't. And that's what separates OSR from kind of the newer school, where you just come to this encounter and, well, why are they there? What are they doing? The orcs on level 1, right? Might hate the troglodytes on level 2, right? Show your players signs of this conflict. Maybe they have, the troglodytes have a captured orc. If table chemistry is right, your players will start manipulating the dungeon's ecology. Maybe pitting them against each other, pitting the two factions against each other for their upper hand. So those are the three things I recommend you write for your monsters. Is number one is what do they want right now? Okay. Number two, how are they going to use the environment? If they're going to be there a while, they're going to definitely make sure they prepare their area. And number two, what is their relationship to the rest of the dungeon? So those three things will really kind of give you a good idea of how to run the encounter and give life to your monsters. So remember that. So the other thing that I really recommend for new DMs to do, and in BX it's very, very simple, because it's 2d6, there's a certain number, and it's in the stat book for, I don't have one with me, but it's in the stat book, there's a morale stat, and you use 2d6, and above they stay, below they retreat. In AD&D, in the DMG, it uses a D100 system. So whatever system you use, every system is a little different, but in my system, AD&D, I use it straight out of the DMG, and that is morale. Unless you're dealing with mindless undead, right? Constructs or ultra crazy fanatics, or extraplanar beings, maybe, something like that. 1E monsters do not want to die in a dirty dungeon on the floor. They don't. They have, and they have a morale score. They have a morale score, and you need to test it. You need to use it. In 1E, you don't guess when a monster breaks. If you use morale, and you don't have to. This is a recommendation, and the title of this is Monster Ecology, and it is to make your encounters more terrifying and your monsters more terrifying. So you should use morale. Try it. Now, you don't have to, but morale takes that thinking away from you, and it puts it to a roll, and you run with it. So to talk about morale a little bit, and I'll put a video up because I've done some videos in the past on the mechanics of AD&D morale. But morale rating, is you roll morale on very specific triggers, right? Number one, you roll morale on, when a leader or champion of the pack is slain, right? So maybe the chief goes down, or maybe when the total, the total numbers of the opposing party, the total number of goblins drops at about 25% or 50%, that's another morale trigger. Another one would be when, there could be other factors in that. Maybe a spellcaster does a crazy spell, it puts fear in them. So then you do a morale roll. So there's various triggers for morale. And I recommend if you're running AD&D, just read that part really quick and you'll get a great idea for it. Or watch the video that I pointed to. But using morale adds that level of unpredictability that the monsters have. And, it's not terrifying for a group to just go into a room, fight a monster, know that monster is going to be there till it's got 0 hit points and done, right? It's more terrifying for them to go in there, possibly fight it. At some point they retreat and they go get reinforcements, if they fail the morale roll, there could be a lot of different things that happen. Number one, they could retreat. They could surrender. They could, drop their weapons and run. Totally retreating. Or they could go get reinforcements. So there's a lot of different scenarios that could happen in there, and and that could be disastrous for the party. That could be frightening for the party if you don't even, if they don't even know what's down the hall. Maybe the real group is down the hall. So that alone will make them terrifying. So use that in particular. If you throw morale in your game, that's a real big thing. Now, like I said, you don't have to 100%, but I suggest you do that to make your stuff more, your encounters and your monsters more terrifying. So when you run monsters according to the true monster manual, go in there, look at that monster, look at the full description of the goblin, and find out about what their motivations are, and why are they here? What do they want? What are they doing? And what are they going to use to their advantage? Because they're not going to just sit there and wait to be attacked. They're going to be ready. They're going to be prepared. They're going to have traps set up. They're going to do all that kind of stuff. And put yourself in their place. What would you do? Would you just sit there and wait? Maybe some people would. I wouldn't. I would have that place laid out, and as difficult for the party coming, I would make it as difficult as I could make it for them to come give me the most advantage. So, in AD&D, in first edition, combat stops being a chore and becomes high stakes tactical chess, right? Where a single mistake can cost a character's life if you use monsters as intended from the OSR. But even if your players survive, right? The blade of an orc or a goblin, or the venom of a snake, or a giant centipede. Those are deadly in old school. They still have to survive the dungeon itself, right? The crushing darkness and the resource drain and all the other things that I kind of talked about in other videos, but. This and silent ticks, right? Of the dungeon clock, right? We're going to talk about that too. But So in the next video, I'm going to talk about those kind of things, and that's titled Hazard and Environment. And you know, I'm going to show you how to turn. I'm going to show you how to turn stone walls into a living threat, right? And why tracking your time in the game and torches, you know, is the ultimate engine for 1E old school tension. A lot of DM, early new DMs don't know how to do that, and I'm going to give you some really awesome tricks to bring up the tension in your game, and man, your players are going to remember it, and they're going to be like, oh, you know. So that'll be the next video. You know, so you guys, for this video right here, number 7, you know, open up the monster manual, and you know, if you're playing AD&D, open up this. If you're playing BX, open up, you know, open up that's BX book. If you're playing Shadow Dark, look at the monsters. If you're playing any game, look at the monsters and answer those 3 questions, right? Check those morale scores, and I'll see you guys at the table and at the next video. So the next video, you guys, is number 8, Hazards and Environment. Go over there, click it, and go to the next one. All right, you guys, take care. See you soon. Bye-bye.